Hey, what's going on, everybody? ABJ here of the ABJ Podcast, coming up at you at episode 151. And we're not talking about hard liquor, but it might get there. Alex Watt, Erik's Viking, be joining me here on the podcast momentarily. But before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to our YouTube members on our World Champion level Freak Maniac. We have YouTube subscriptions that you can subscribe to keep the lights on this podcast and donate and support. Links below for all things when it comes to merch. If you want to throw a tip or donation, we have super chats available on YouTube as well as PayPal, Venmo, the whole nine's all down there. Also, we have a Patreon if you want to support the podcast. So that's all that stuff down below. Also, make sure you check out the link below for the event we're about to talk to. You can buy tickets, even if you're not going to be in attendance. If you want to grab a ticket, send myself or one of the guys here a screenshot of the ticket. Just be like, hey, this ticket is donated by the ABJ Podcast. So at least they get some money to pay for some things. So we always like to try to support local independent art as well as wrestling, music, the whole nine. So let's get into this one real quick. Let's get some music by the Converse Kid and get this one started. We'll see you on the other side. What's going on, everybody? We are here. We're live, episode 151. Going to do some fun things here, talk about a wrestling show, as well as learn about one half of the promotion team putting this show together. And this will be the first time, I think, on the history of the ABJ podcast where I will have a co-host who will be helping me along this journey, telling me about the event, but then helping me on the interview side. And what better person to be this co-host is the one and only the Kilowatt himself.
Bing
What's
bong.
going on, bud?
Look
Bing bong.
I'm looking for a catchphrase. Bing bong is not it.
No.
Sound off below. What should be my catchphrase?
Yeah. What's Kilowatt's fucking new catchphrase? Oh, cursing already. We are lost monetization. Let's before we I want you to kind of introduce our guest here.
Awesome. Well, our guest is none other than Erik Viking, the owner and operator of PWE, Pro Wrestling Explosion. We got linked up through a mutual friend, Billy Avery. You'll know him from Labor of Love, and obviously when he was on this podcast. Mm-hmm. Linked us up. They joined the HTW Network, and I don't know, man. It seems like big things are about to come. It's about to get explosive. Look at me. I'm performing now. I
don't look at you bringing it. Well, let's bring him in without further ado. Erik Viking. Oh, let's put Erik in the big screen. What's up, bud?
Whoa. Oh, hello.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you doing?
Welcome to the ABJ Podcast.
Oh, good to be here.
So you are the owner of Pro Wrestling Explosion, and you're teaming up here with High Tension Wrestling Network for a no ring show. Let's walk through this. What is the premise? What are people expecting to see when we come to this show?
Well, this is my, I think, fourth time doing it at this particular venue, and it's chaos. It's bands playing on stage, and then when they're done playing, we all gather in a mosh pit right on the floor, and there's wrestling inside of the mosh pit. So it's really just like, it's not your traditional show. You get music, you get wrestling, you get to see something that you don't normally see. You like guys are Irish whipping each other, and they're just bouncing off of fans and going right to the middle of the end. So like that, the fans are the ropes. So
I love that.
I mean, what's better than beer, wrestling, music? I don't know, just those three. That's the trifecta right there, I think.
This show was made for me. Like, this is exactly what I need in my life.
Yeah.
I've literally never been so excited going into a show.
It's pretty wild. I mean, it's like, I think, Alex, I've shown you pictures and video of what it looks like. It's just everyone, the fans are very like respectful of how it gets organized. So when I tell people, hey, like if I get on the mic and say, hey, everybody circle around, we're going to have a match, everyone does it. You know, it's not like, I everyone works as a team. It's like the fans understand the deal. So they work and we communicate with each other. Like I'm usually at the soundboard, playing the music. I'm on the microphone, kind of being the DJ of the night. And it gets chaotic, but I'm there to kind of coordinate it all and make sure everything goes okay. So the way we're setting it up this time is the same as before. It's band, match, band, match, band, match. And then sometimes the wrestlers have a beef with the bands, and then there's a fight between the two. It just happens that way. I don't know why it always seems to happen every show. There's a fight between the bands and the wrestlers. I don't know. Somebody booked it that way. I don't know. Maybe I did, but
how many bands are we getting, or is it just a band like does a band come and play like one or two songs at a match, or do they get like a set? What's the layout?
Short set, 20 minutes, then a 5-minute match, then a 20-minute set, then a 5-minute match. And like I said, sometimes they're not supposed to intertwine with each other, but they do. And that's when it gets really exciting, when the bands start wrestling. Some of the band members start wrestling, and some of the wrestlers jump on stage and are part of the band. It just happens.
I just had a crazy thought. When you think wrestling and music, I mean, there's only one person to come to mind when it comes to who's a musician as well as a professional wrestler, and everybody wants to see them at all costs. That's Ultramanus Black. I mean, I was at a show where his band played, and then he got in the ring, and the band played, and they just had a melee across the whole place. And the band played while Ultramanus was fighting. It was the coolest thing ever. And then there's, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sean Carr, but he has a nephew, Tyler Reed, who's in a band called Second Suitor. I mean, two lead frontman, where they start playing a show and then they start fighting each other. I feel like Wrestling Explosion and this pit is where it should happen.
Well, doesn't AEW also have two singers? Well, one's a guitar player and one's the lead singer of popular bands. We have the guitar player of As They Lay Dying is also a wrestler in AEW. I think he's in
The Butcher and the Blade.
The Butcher and the Blade. But I think that band just broke up, didn't they?
The Butcher, he's the guitar player, right?
Yeah.
There. And then the other guy is also in a band, I believe.
Jericho's and Fozzy, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Jericho's and Fozzy.
I mean, that was something you want to call that a band.
I just found that out recently, that the As They Lay Dying guitar player is also a wrestler in AEW.
It's awesome. The crossover is fun.
And who's the guy that's really, really big, that's tatted, that is in Black's stable? What?
Brody King.
Brody King. He's the singer in a hardcore band.
Really?
Well. Yeah, he's the singer in a hardcore band, and then Butcher is the guitar player of As They Lay Dying. So yeah,
I did not know that.
The music and wrestling, this is the same thing. This is entertainment. I mean, wrestling has music, and sometimes music has wrestling.
Absolutely.
It's the same. Ultramantis Black. I was there at a Labor of Love show in Philly where, he was playing, and then all of a sudden, they ended their set, and then he was already in his gear, and he just started wrestling Dan Champion right afterwards.
That's awesome. I love Ultramanus. I'm such a mark. So what does High Tension bring to the table when it comes to this show for Wrestle Pit?
I don't know, Alex. What do you think?
What does High Tension bring to the table here? It sounds like Pro Wrestling Explosion got everything kind of forged away. What does High Tension bring to the table?
What do we bring to the table? Are you kidding me? We bring Mike Skyros, the HTW Network champion. He's going to be issuing an open challenge, and I have to say this: if he doesn't get beaten by Philly Mike on 7/14 at Smash Master, it's a whole thing. I don't want to get into it, but we're bringing Mike Skyros to Wrestle Pit on 7/19. There's going to be an open challenge for the title. And then we have Wild LLC's Journey Burke versus Riley Crow.
Awesome. There you go.
I think we're bringing some hard-hitting stuff.
That is a great. Listen, I just to kind of give some roses here. I mean, when you look at the High Tension brand and crowning that champion in Mike Skyros. He has had a run with that title that has been absolutely impressive, and just what he's doing outside of the title picture, he's wrestling Suzuki, like all this things going down for this kid. He's absolutely killing it. So for him to wrestle in I've never seen him in a no ring match. So how can he hit the skyfall with no turnbuckle to jump off of? So that's going to be interesting to see how he's going to get the job done, especially in a situation he may not be prepared with wrestling with no ring, and he's going to do an open challenge. This could be someone's backyard where somebody on the PWE side who's a seasoned vet to wrestling in no ring walks into a venue and possibly walks out as a champion.
Could be. Yeah, I mean, the championship is open to anybody from any brand within the HTW network.
Yeah,
it could be anybody.
And he just took a booking for possible if he lasts all the way to this point, where he's going to take on a former finalist of Frog Sport, Darius Carter.
Right. Yeah, at Smash Master, I believe August 4th.
Yeah, that's another tough fight
show.
Right there. Yeah.
That's Smash Master Wrestling. That's recombination wrestling, and that is Combat Fights Unlimited, one massive show.
Yeah, that's wild stuff there. So and you said Journey Burke versus Riley Crow. Journey Burke is very seasoned to no ring. She's been doing the fightertainment shows at Pilgrim Brewing Company, so she's used to no ring. Riley Crow, I'm not sure if that's something she's ever experienced. I know she's been getting in some depth of hardcore matches, so that should be fun too.
Hardcore, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm kind of scared of what might happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm a fan of both their work, so it's gonna be fun to see how that goes down. So over on the PWE side, what are some matches we should look forward to?
Well, we have the ultra villain of PWE. His name now is 138. He's under a demonic type of mask. He has a manager with him that carries around a what do you call it?
Like a scepter?
Electrical stick. Zapper.
Oh, a cattle prog.
Yeah, he's got one of those. And we think in PWE that we believe it's Bobby Dempsey, but we're not sure. So Bobby Dempsey's been with PWE since the very beginning. He was our third champion, and he was our he was our champion in 2019, and we believe it's a situation like Hulk Hogan was in 2003 when it was Mr. America, but everyone believed it was Hulk Hogan. We weren't positive. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is 138, but I'm thinking it's Bobby Dempsey. He's evil, and he's back, and he's been raining some terror in PWE, as in, like, he doesn't just fight. He treats these wrestlers that he fights as victims. And then he wants to take them into his stable and make them his servants. So it's like beating them into submission, and then now that they're beaten down to the very bottom, now they are his servants. So that's his way of doing things. But we have a hero coming back. We have Yodeling Johan. Oh yeah, 5 years. 5 years. Yodeling Johan has been gone from wrestling, from society. He's been nowhere to be found. The last I saw him was in PWE when he suffered a loss at the Ruba Club in Philadelphia in August of 2019. He lost there. He lost a mustache match before that at Philomoka, where he got the mustache shaved off. So he's been really beaten, and he's been humiliated. So he left. He went back to Switzerland, of course, where he's from. He learned how to yodel 20 times better than he did before. He's got this giant horn, and the horn he tells me the horn has grown exponentially, so it's gotten even bigger. It's ginormous. It's huge. It's the size of an entire room, but it's growing apparently. So he's bringing the horn, the giant horn, and he's going to be our savior. We're looking at him to take down 138 once and for all, and maybe we can even demask 138 and reveal him as Bobby Dempsey that we believe he is. But we're looking at 5-year return from Yodeling Johan to to take on 138. And then that's the first match. And then, like we're saying, this event is 2 HTW matches and 2 PWE matches. It's 2 and 2, and then there's 4 bands. So we're intertwining everything. Our main event is Danger Hawk, the champion. He's been champion for 1 year. He won it last June. So or July. Last July, he had a miraculous victory over Dan Champion, the big mean bully Dan Champion, who had been champion for a couple years. And we had an upset victory up in upstate New Jersey where we had a show. And he's our champion now. He's used to being the underdog. I mean, Danger Hawk, if you know who this guy is, he's not the biggest wrestler you've ever seen. He's a small guy. Think of maybe Rey Mysterio Jr. Mm-hmm. Small in stature, but smart up here. And he's usually the underdog, so he's usually facing guys that are bigger than him, stronger than him, and he has his way of beating those types of people, right? We saw him beat Dan Champion that way.
Yeah, he's using that speed to his advantage.
He is, but there's an issue. He's being challenged at this show on July the 19th at the Fire in Philadelphia. He's being challenged by a man, a woman, a glitch, a sound. I don't really know what he is, but his name is Techno. I don't even want to say his. Its name is Techno. And from the look of it, he's just about the same size as Danger Hawk is. And the same speed. And the same weight. Same height, same weight, same speed, same strength, same acrobatic moves. I've watched Techno. What's Danger Hawk going to do when he's used to facing... He knows how to beat the big guys. But does he know how to beat equals?
Yeah.
Just as fast, just as tall, just as... Can he do it? This is actually Danger Hawk's very first test against somebody even with him. Completely even in every way. So he's going to have to figure out how to beat himself. It's not a replica. Techno's not a replica of him, but he's basically going to have to figure out how to beat himself. He's going to have to beat Techno at Danger Hawk's own game. Because we know Techno's going to know the same little tricks to beat those big guys that Danger Hawk has. So that's our title match, is Techno versus Danger Hawk for the PWE title. And of course, we have 138 versus Yodeling Johan.
I will say this, already hearing you talk about your matchups and the thought process to the story and everything like that, I love. And I feel like, knowing Alex as long as I have, and in hearing your passion for the story and your passion for, the art, I think this is a match made in heaven, these two companies coming together.
Yeah, I mean, when I learned about Alex through my friend Anthony, he runs a company called Labor of Love in Philadelphia, I was more so looking to team up with somebody because it was just logistically, it wasn't working. Just me by myself. It just wasn't working logistically. So I was thinking about, maybe like I've had some meetings with some other promoters, and maybe we were thinking about maybe even selling, maybe me becoming a booker and not a promoter, and maybe selling my brand to someone else. But when I found out that High Tension is a network, right? You have brands underneath a network. I felt like maybe I could fit in that way and still run shows, but do it smarter, do it logistically better. There's, High Tension brings stuff that I don't have, and then I bring stuff that High Tension doesn't have. Like, my advantage is location. I'm in Philadelphia. I can promote in Philadelphia. I can promote High Tension in Philadelphia. I also have a good relationship with venues here, like in Philadelphia, which is crazy because like me and Anthony we might be the only local promotions in the city of Philadelphia, but aren't we considered like the mecca of wrestling here? Mm-hmm. Like,
everyone crosses the bridge to Jersey because they can do whatever they want over there.
Exactly. So I live in Jersey, but I live right on the border. I cross over almost like twice a week. I'm over in Philadelphia back and forth. I live near the border. Mm-hmm. So I'm in Jersey myself, but like I promote in Philly. But like most people that live in Philly promote in Jersey, like H2O Wrestling, GCW. I mean, there's millions of them, right? Think about it. There's wrestling all over Jersey. It's flooded here, but like there was no one in Philly because they don't want to pay the commission.
Yeah,
they don't want to deal with the commission. But Alex has a relationship with the commission, so it makes perfect sense for me to work with him because I can provide some things that he can't, but because of his location, and he can provide things that I can. So it makes perfect sense. And then this is like Philadelphia is like an untapped city, even though it's the Mecca, right? They just had WrestleMania. Am I not mistaken? Did they not have WrestleMania here?
Yeah.
Like it's the Mecca, but yet like there's no indies that are there. They used to be Chikara, but like even Ring of Honor sometimes did shows, but CZW was in Philly, then they moved to Jersey. So it's like, why not be the one Philly brand, or two Philly brands, and then so it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I love the idea, and the fact that you're mixing in different arts and different forms. I think if even if you're a fan of a band, sometimes people seeing wrestling for the first time, like, oh, I haven't watched since I'm a kid, but I really want to go see this band, and then they get into an environment where they're literally, how you were like, they're the ropes, they are part of the action, they're wrestling in a mosh pit. Like that might make a wrestling fan, and then they're like, I can go see my bands and have fun at a wrestling show. I think it's a really cool environment. I think people should come out and definitely come support and see this show.
Yeah, bands. I talk to so many band members, and when wrestling ever comes up, they're like, "Oh yeah, I love wrestling." Like it's the same thing. Like I used to promote music back when I was in my early 20s. I was promoting music, but I was also a wrestling fan at the same time.
Yeah,
I just transitioned from promoting music to wrestling.
It's tons of crossover.
So
what are the bands we're gonna get to see?
So we're gonna see a lucha themed punk band called Los Campeones. They are in their lucha masks, and they play like wrestling themed songs. So they're kind of like a fun punk, maybe. I don't know if I'd call it pop punk, but it's not your like No Effects sounding punk, or it's not like Bad Religion or something. It's a little, I don't know. It's just fun, I guess. It's hard to explain. And then we have Shiverboard coming from Brooklyn. They're an awesome, I would call them like screamo hardcore.
Yeah, they're definitely hardcore. I've been checking them out.
They're badass. I have their record. Nice guys too. They all love wrestling, of course. Duh. Who doesn't like wrestling? Come on.
Yeah.
It's impossible to not like wrestling. I challenge any human to tell me why they don't like wrestling. It's impossible.
And if they say any reason negative, it's because they don't really give it a shot. And the beautiful thing is I'm excited, being aboard of the High Tension brand, and then you coming in with these bands and these wrestling is like, now I get to meet some bands, and then I get to possibly have some bands on the podcast in the future. It's a win-win for all of us.
Hell yeah. Music. We all in the same boat here. Music and wrestling, same damn thing.
Yeah. So if you guys want, it's gonna be Wrestle Pit. It will be High Tension Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Explosion presents live music. No ring wrestling. Must be 21 or older to enter. July 19th at 8 p.m. at the Fire in 412 in Girard Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Tickets are $15 in advance or $20 at the door. The link is below at wrestlepit.eventbrite.com, and get your tickets to come hang out now. Yeah, I'm pumped. I cannot wait for this show.
July 19th. Philadelphia, July 19th.
I made a lot of cool connections Mania weekend of people who love music and love wrestling. Maybe we'll get that cool crossover.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to learn a little bit about you yourself here, Erik. How did you get involved with the world of professional wrestling? And you said you did music before and stuff like that. How did you get involved in this world of pro wrestling?
Involved as in like physically involved, or just when did I become a fan of wrestling?
Well, you could say how you became a fan, but or you how you became involved, however far back you want to go. Let's go. Growing up, we pretty much know you're a lifelong fan, but when did you go from a fan to becoming in the business, and how did you get involved?
Okay, I'll really, like, within a minute, I'll briefly go through.
Don't rush. Have fun.
I was probably 4 years old when I saw my first wrestling match. It was on a VHS tape, probably WrestleMania 3, but it wasn't in 1987. It was like 1989 or 90, maybe. VHS was still a thing, so I would walk to my video rental store down the street. This was in Seattle, Washington, where I was born and raised in Seattle. And I'd go to my local corner store, my video store, and they had all the VHS tapes. I think what drew me to it first was the graphics. So as you can see, PWE's graphic is like very bright colors and lasers. Well, what drew me to like those SummerSlam 90 and like WrestleMania 3, like it was just the logos. It was the logos, the colors, these ultra huge, almost insane looking males, like not really females. Actually, they didn't put females on the covers till like Sable. You know what I mean? Like it was a long time. So it was mainly just comic book looking guys that looked insane to me. Hogan looked insane. I mean, we're talking handlebar mustache. He had white hair, but he had brown skin, but like this crazy facial hair and muscles everywhere. And I'm like, this guy looks like Thor. What the hell? Or to me, growing up, He-Man, right?
Okay.
He-Man was like my favorite. 89, 90-ish. So I became a fan about the comic book in real life. It wasn't about the matches. And maybe we can talk about that later on. Is like, what's my philosophy in wrestling? Presentation is everything. And that's why the WWE grabbed me in the early 90s. It was colors, it was wardrobe, it was music. Man, the wardrobes were awesome back then. Macho Man's wardrobe, the glitter cape, I was like, what? This is amazing. It looks awesome. But it's Monday Night Wars, right? I was a Monday Night Wars 97. I was channeling back and forth from WCW to WWE, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was a part of those ratings that they always talk about on podcasts, like Eric Bischoff's podcast, 83 Weeks. Those fighting over ratings, like Raw at a 5.2 and a Nitro at a 4.7. You're looking at him. I was one of those 5.2s because I was literally had the channel changer in my hand. It was going from USA Network to TNT over, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
If I was at someone's house and they changed it back and forth, I would tell them.
Wow, the NWO. Whoa, this is the best thing I've ever seen. What was that?
So you have a little bit of delay, Eric. You're lagging pretty rough. It's hard to make out some of the stuff. But what you were saying is you would go back and forth. It's all right. I don't know if you're having some internet issues on your end. But if growing up, if someone changed a channel, if I went to someone's house for Monday and they switched back and forth, I'd say stay on WWE. And if you change over to WCW, I'm going home. I don't want to watch. I refuse to watch WCW growing up. I'm not sure if you can hear us. That delay is crazy. Can you hear me, Alex?
Yeah, everything on our end is really smooth. I think he's
getting connection
frozen now.
Yeah. Maybe if you want to step out, maybe reset and then just jump back in. We can see if that fixes it. Yeah, he's really lagged out on.
Yeah,
us.
let's.
Okay. Well,
we can filibust while you reset. We'll talk more about the show and stuff coming up with the show while you reset. All right. Well,
There it is. All right.
Yeah. We'll let him fix his on his end there. The lagging. I thought it was me at first because sometimes in the heat my computer lags, and then it lagged, and then I was like, all right, mine's not. It doesn't do it that long, and then it just kept going and going.
I kept looking at your eyes to see if you were lagging, but you were like, you're good.
Yeah. I think he's completely like he's not even moving on the in the.
Yeah, like maybe he just needs to reset his router or something. Hopefully.
Yeah, something like that. So when it comes to these, like, how did you find out about PWE and seeing their content? How did you know this was going to be a great fit?
This is a fun story. I feel really bad about this actually. So about a year or so ago, I got a message from PWE's account on Instagram, and I was just like, I don't know you guys. I'm stressed out with wrestling right now. But he apparently was asking like, hey, I'm interested in the HTW Network. Like, let's chat. And I just never opened that message. I just kind of let it go. I know, I'm the worst. And then Billy Avery was like, hey, man, you guys should link up. I think you guys can benefit running in Philly together or like helping each other just do good things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? Let's have this conversation because personally, I'm kind of desperate for venues at this point. My biggest problem as to why we're not running shows consistently is I can't find an affordable venue or a venue that actually wants to run wrestling. And that just happens to be one of Erik's strengths is relationships with venues and creative ones as well. So I, checked out some of his stuff and I'm like, wow, this kind of reminds me a little of like the Leapfrog vibe, the Chikara vibe. We have a lot of crossover.
You know what else
talent.
gives me a little vibe of?
Uh-oh.
What did we watch one WrestleMania weekend and became absolutely so obsessed with that we ran out and bought T-shirts for the event and became mega fans of a certain wrestler? You bought me the shirt. I wore it every Pride.
They remind you of that? Of
the no ring on stage with wrestling in the pit?
Yes. Okay, yes. So yeah, it does remind you of that. And hopefully we can live up to it. I don't think we're going to get that extreme. I don't know. I'm going
to be honest. I think the crowd being around it and maybe not so much the hyper violence aspect and blood, I think is the way to go. And I think the way and because it like I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, but I think that campiness, more leaning on the story vibe, almost like the cartoony 80s, 90s style that which leaned into Leapfrog, and it seems like what they're trying to do with their storylines, I think are very complementary of each other.
I think for me, like when it comes to like high tension wrestling main, it's very, very story. It's very, very character. But if I continue to do like another no ring show, or we do more no ring shows down the road, I'm probably not going to involve as much main canon and story into it. I think it'll just be like fun matches, throw you in the middle of it type of thing. But like our main show is 100% story.
Yeah. Can you hear us now, Erik?
Can you guys see me now?
Yeah. If you could turn your phone sideways and give you the full.
Turn that son of a bitch sideways.
There you go.
Yeah, I switched to the phone. Just I don't know if something was wrong with the laptop or what.
Yeah, sometimes it's hot. It's hot. Sometimes it gets hot and it freezes up a little bit, but we're still good.
Okay. Where did we leave off at?
You were talking about your love for wrestling growing up, and then how you got involved in wrestling yourself, like getting in the business.
What were you guys talking? Was I completely gone and you guys had to go off on your own?
A little bit, yeah. So we kind of talked about how he found PWE and what he likes about your brand and how it's going to grow going forward. But we can get back into your story now.
Okay, cool. Like we were saying, like I transitioned from just like sweet colors and VHS tapes, and then all of a sudden, wow, it's like a comic book come to life. The early 90s was awesome. Mm-hmm. Definitely an Ultimate Warrior fan. It's just like I was a fan of the presentation. I didn't really think about the wrestling whatsoever. I wasn't like a Dave Meltzer probably hated 1992 because he was like looking at Nails and Warrior and being like, these guys can't work. This is terrible. For me, I'm like, I don't care if they know how to work. I don't care if they know how to wrestle. Like, look how awesome Nails looks. Look how rad Warrior looks. And then that moved on to, I kind of gave up on the mid 90s because I was like, I wasn't really interested in what was going on. And then all of a sudden NWO came and I was like, game changer. NWO. Wow. This is the real thing now. And then 97, 98, I was just like part of the Monday Night Wars, transferring back and forth. I was the ratings that Vince and Bischoff are trying to get. I was one of them, jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
And then, that led to me just from there not being a super fan, but just keeping up with it. I was at WrestleMania 19 in Seattle, so I was keeping up with the WWE. 2002, 2003, 2004, but it wasn't like I was Monday Night War style where I was like, leave me alone every Monday, leave me alone. I'm just wrestling. So by the time 2005 came along, I decided I wanted to involve myself in wrestling in some way, refereeing, commentating, whatever. And I was still in a band. I was touring in a band. And by the time 2008 came along, I finally made the decision. I was like, I'm leaving Washington and I'm moving to Bristol, Pennsylvania to join the Ring of Honor school. So that was my entrance into physically being a part of wrestling, was joining the Ring of Honor dojo in 2008 under Delirious and Daisy Hayes. So that's that's where I went from being just a fan to, hey, time to learn how to do some wrestling moves. And
so being from Seattle, how did you find out about the dojo? And I mean, that's a bold move that you're moving halfway across the country to somewhere you don't know anything about to chase this dream to be in the wrestling business. How did you navigate that?
I, just like you said, I gave up everything. I gave up my family, gave up my friends, gave up my I had a really badass scooter at the time that I gave that one up too, because I can't haul that across the country.
Fucking love you.
I gave up everything. I gave up all the things that I love, and I packed
you got a new scooter, right?
Yeah, I just did.
Right.
For the very first time. I just got a new one in January. So, but yeah, like I gave up everything. I packed everything that I owned that I could fit into my small car, and drove my car from Washington to Bristol, Pennsylvania, straight line, all the way across. Just drove all the way across the country. So I gave up everything, but I had a dream I wanted to follow. I wanted to me, being involved in pro wrestling sounded crazy. Like it sounded like it was nothing I could ever do. And I was like, I'm going to do it.
They let everybody in.
I'm doing it. I'm going in. And, I wanted to be involved somehow. Like I said, it wasn't really to be a wrestler. I just wanted to be involved. And I showed up telling them that I wanted to train to be a referee. That didn't really happen. They just trained me for 2 years straight as a wrestler instead. So, yeah, I learned every move that there is to learn. I was doing full matches in practice, and became a wrestler. So yeah, didn't really want to be a wrestler. Didn't go there to be a wrestler, but I became one.
Yeah. So how did you transition from wrestling into becoming, more of the promotion side and running your own wrestling shows and promotion?
So I worked for Ring of Honor for about 3 years. I became a manager. My manager character was on the dark matches for Ring of Honor from like 2009, 2010, and 2011. And I was also working for them on their ring crew. I was traveling from Detroit to Chicago to St. Louis, Philly, New York. I was driving all those miles. And
you were seeing some dope shit though, man. That was a good era of ROH.
Hey, I'll tell you what. There was one of my jobs was not just driving to the shows and setting up the shows. My job, I was also ringing the bell sometimes. I was managing on the dark matches. I was running the door. I was doing everything. Like everything they told me to do, I did. Sometimes I'd be the guy catching the streamers. one of my jobs also was to pick up the wrestlers from the hotel and like drive them to the shows. So I'd have this 15-seated van, and I didn't realize it at the time. You don't really, like you said, the time I was there was epic for Ring of Honor, right? It was epic. It was freaking epic but you don't realize it when it's happening, who these guys are. Like there was so many shows that I drove to like Chicago and drove to Detroit and Pittsburgh, and you look behind, I'm driving the van and I look behind me and I'm like, well, there's Seth Rollins back there. There's Claudio Castagnoli, who's Cesaro.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Edwards, the Briscoe brothers. So the Briscoes. Who else is back there? Davey Richards, Steve Carino. Steve Carino was there. You name it. The only people that never rode with me were like Bryan Danielson had his own way, and Kevin Steen and El Generico had their own way. But yeah, I picked up Nana, anybody you can think of. I was driving to the show, so chauffeuring from hotel, show, bar, hotel, hijinks and craziness, back to the bar, back to maybe, I wouldn't say I was drunk driving, but I might have been tipsy driving a few times. But they trusted me. Ring of Honor trusted me to do it. I was older than the rest of the students. So, they came in at age 18 and I was there at age 24. So I had been there and done that. I've done this before. So yeah, that was a kind of my jobs. I was doing odd jobs for Ring of Honor. And then from there, I went back to, I left Ring of Honor. I went back to college, got my degree. And then after I got my degree, it was probably 2014, 2015. I was like, what should I do now? I'm here in Philly. I moved here for wrestling. I got my degree. What do I do now? So that's kind of where I started PWE. I just wanted to do something that occupy my time.
Now you kind of have a really cool journey. Like you're in the same boat as like Cheeseburger, where you went to a school and kind of landed in the ROH dojo and then got to be part of the ROH thing, where a lot of people go to a school and then their school tries to get them into a bigger venue or a show that would get them into an ROH or an AEW or a WWE. When you now see the independent scene now, or you see people on the rise, like you see a Mike Skyrosh, you see like a Danger Hawk or stuff like that. What did you learn from those greats that were in ROH at that point in time about their work ethic or how they conducted themselves or what they do in the business, that now they're all dominating television? So when you turn on TV, it's essentially that whole ROH brand that you were palling around with. Like, what did you see about that locker room that was so different that got them to that level?
Ooh, great question. I don't think I've been asked that before. So I will say this. I have to admit that the Ring of Honor style of wrestling is not what I'm really a fan of. So I'm not going to say anything bad about Ring of Honor. These were the best wrestlers in the world. Again, like I said, I was driving these guys around, and you don't realize when we're all 26 years old that these guys are all future WrestleMania main eventers. You know what I mean? Like these guys are all going to go to WWE and main event WrestleMania, but you don't know it at the time. Right? When you're working with them and you're in the locker room with them, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to elevate ourselves.
Yeah.
And in any way we need to do, we're trying to elevate ourselves. I didn't realize it at the time, but one thing I did see in them is I was seeing the best wrestling bell to bell in the world. So like when I'm watching matches like Seth Rollins versus Bryan Danielson, or Bryan Danielson versus Davey Richards, or the Kings of Wrestling are another one that I was a huge fan of at the time. Kings of Wrestling versus Briscoes. These, from bell to bell, these are the best wrestlers. Like I'm watching it, and this is when WWE is pretty stale. Like 2010 was kind of the era of Cena, and kind of just the era of Orton and Cena, and things just got kind of stale. So I'm watching the best wrestling. So my takeaway was, wow, this is great wrestling from bell to bell. but I'm not really a fan of that. I'm not really a fan of like wrestling where they're wearing trunks and they're going to the ring and they're just having the best match ever, and then they're going to the locker room and there's no promo, there's no flair, there's no not a lot of wardrobe stuff. Aries had some of that I loved. He had a glitter jacket. I'll tell you what was the best jacket in wrestling I've ever seen is Austin Aries circa 2010, 2011. He had the best jacket I've ever seen in wrestling. It's the sparkliest, most colorful jacket.
You haven't seen my crochet jacket. Yeah, to be determined,
It's like he opens the jacket up and it's like a flamingo, or not a flamingo, a peacock.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is like I was more of a fan of what Chikara was doing with their storylines and their characters. But with Ring of Honor, what I took from them is, oh shit, this is great wrestling. That's what I got from them. And I knew that they were going to translate to WWE once WWE was able to kind of form them. Because they already knew the wrestling. So I knew the wrestling. Seth Rollins didn't have to think of he didn't have to do anything different wrestling-wise. He already knew everything. He was good. Great. Austin Aries, great. These guys, great. They just need to be molded and maybe molded in the WWE way, and then I knew they were going to be great. Once they got characters and they got better doing promos, boom. But I was more of a Chikara fan at that moment because in 2010, 2011, I was like watching what Chikara was doing, and I was like, damn, I almost wish I went to the Chikara school instead of the Ring of Honor school because I was seeing what they were doing, and I was like, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
This is how I would promote. And Alex, I think, shares the same thing as me. Like, we're all about the presentation, the storylines, the wardrobe, the music, the aura, the walk to the ring, the promo. Yeah. This is 75% of wrestling fans or whoever's watching this. Like, I'm talking about 75% of wrestling. 25% is the bell-to-bell stuff, the wrestling. So.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because that's Chikara and ROH time. Like I tell people all the time, like you have to go back and kind of learn about the past to learn about the future. And this is why independent wrestling is so important, because what you'd seen at ROH and what was happening in Chikara essentially formed into what we now know as the WWE and AEW. Like everyone who's on both those brands came from a lot of the Northeast wrestling scene. I mean, there is people who they got from the California scene and all that, but like a good chunk of it came from ROH and came through Chikara.
Like you said, I look behind me and everyone in the back of my van all main evented WrestleMania like 4 or 5 years later. And you're like, oh, I kind of knew they were awesome, but I didn't know they were going to be like millionaires afterwards. So yeah, I kind of had a hunch, their in-ring work was the best I've ever seen, but like I didn't know if WWE would be interested in that type of stuff, but they were. So yeah, like, but
I know
again,
for me.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know for me that I come from like a theater background. Like that's what I fell in love with in high school. When I was also training to be a wrestler, side by side, I'm doing stage crew in theater, acting in plays, directing a play or two. And then also training for professional wrestling. And it was the exact same thing about both that I fell in love with. So like, yeah, we're very much right on point with the things that we love about pro wrestling are the things that we lean heavy into. Now I know for me personally.
I mean, look, I'll just show your audience the shirt really quick.
Yeah, no holds barred.
There's a reason why I'm wearing a Zeus shirt, because Zeus is theater.
Yeah.
Alex, you know this. Zeus and Nails is theater. I mean, they're my favorite wrestlers. It's not their in-ring work. It's the presentation. It's the
so that's why back here I have an Effie flag. Underneath that is my Brody shoes I just got. I got my Orange Cassidy sunglasses up there. I love characters. I love Roddy Piper, Briscoe, Samoa Joe. You know what I mean? Like I love a good character.
I mean, I think that's what draws. I mean, I'm not going to say for certain what draws in the mainstream.
Perfect, right here. Everyone remembers Piper hitting Snuka with the coconut, but nobody remembers the matches that follow.
Boom, bang! You did it. Like, okay, think about this one. I always use this one as the example. The Rock. 1998, 1999. Tell me what he did so great in those matches in 98 and 99. You probably don't remember many of those matches.
I remember his shirts.
The only one that sticks out to me is him versus Mick Foley in the I Quit match, because it was so brutal and there was such a story to it that it sticks out.
Exactly. But you remember that match because of how insane it was. But like, let's go back to just his matches with Triple H and Stone Cold. His style is kind of almost like a brawler style. Like Stone Cold has a brawling style. The Rock was kind of a brawling style. It was kind of just like duck the punch, duck the clothesline, back elbow, whip to the rope, clothesline again. I mean, what we remember why The Rock was so big and why he drew so well and why he's a millionaire is not what he did in the ring. It's his promos. It's his comedy. It was his song. Don't forget the song. The song was huge. The comedy was great. His charisma was off the charts. It wasn't anything that he did in the ring. Like, The Rock isn't a better wrestler than Bryan Danielson, but yet
not by a long shot.
But why was he a ratings draw? Why was he on every merchandise? Why is he on every cup? Why did the WWE pay him millions of dollars? Because he got over. He got over as a character, not really the wrestling. So again, what's the draw? It's what me and Alex love. Yeah. We love the theater of it. I love the wrestling, but like that's 25% to me. 75% is everything else.
So with like the theatrics and the story and all that being some of your strengths. Now I know like part of what brought us together is, I think our struggles and our setbacks. I know the last year or two for me has been pretty rough. Like, what would you say has been like your struggles or adversities that you've had to overcome in this pursuit?
The pursuit of kind of being relevant as a brand, basically. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like,
yeah.
As a brand, or like you're in just,
running
shows, or even being relevant as a brand, and all kind of all encompassing, really.
I would say my main setbacks were really just funding. I mean, it's not really anything great to talk about. It's just kind of like I had an idea of how I wanted presentation to be, but to have that presentation, I had to pay a lot of money for, including like I had like when I was on IWTV, I was streamed live on IWTV, but you have to pay a production team to do that. Then when you run shows in Philly, you have to pay a commission. And then you realize that you're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for one show. So I had this idea of how do I want to be presented? I want it to be presented epically, but then I can't do it if I don't have the funds, So I wanted to, how I am going to try to overcome that is scale down my shows, scale them down to smaller venues like bars, music, stuff like that, and doing things like joining HTW Network and networking and combining and making the logistics work. So that was my main, and COVID, of course, I didn't run a show for 2 years, 2.5 years. I didn't run a show. So COVID obviously was the first setback, but the second setback was obviously logistics not working out. So I needed to hammer down how to feasibly run a show without all the bells and whistles that I kind of wanted. You want the bells and whistles, you got to pay for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So since the inception of PWE and running these shows, and I know we haven't really got to the point where maybe the best is yet to come with this merger of the two, but what are some accomplishments so far as a promotion or as a brand that you're really proud of?
I would say I would give it the standard answer of I am proud of elevating young talent to the next level. It's kind of the same standard answer that you're going to hear from like Triple H or Paul Heyman in ECW, or any brand that has, you know, young talent. I love grabbing a young talent and working with them on ideas, on ways that they can get better, on things that I see. Like, they'll send me a match and I will lay out exactly what they're doing, in my opinion, of course, what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. Some of it's just basic stuff like footwork, you know, just basic stuff. You know, I trained as a wrestler for 2 years and I've watched enough wrestling and been a part of it. I at least have some, you know, I don't have great credibility, but I have enough to know where I've been in the ring and I've done pretty much every job, you know, so far that you can do.
But you've also been in the same locker room and in the same cars and the same journeys and the travels with the top talent in the world. That's why I was saying before, is like, when you're around those people, you pick up on intangibles that most people in this industry don't have, because, you know, you didn't really have to go to an indie show where you've seen the same guy who's been in the business 45 years, who only works in a 15-mile radius of his house, who has no ambition or goals to get any further. You're working with Tyler Black and Kevin Steen and El Generico, and then you now in your own promotion go, I see something in you that I've seen in these people back in the day. If you do X, Y, and Z, you will grow.
Yeah, like I had the opportunity to, my first entrance into Ring of Honor on a dark match under my manager character was in Boston in September of 2009. Do you remember the Bryan Danielson farewell tour?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that was like a stretch of the summer where every show was a farewell show. It's kind of a farewell tour. And that was my first show. That was my first show as a manager.
Yeah.
And you go in there and you cut a promo to the Boston crowd. And I had the luxury of coming backstage and having Claudio pull me aside and tell me what I did right, what I did wrong. Delirious to pull me aside, have Adam Pearce pull me aside. I was really lucky because I had only been in wrestling for like 10 months at this point. Yet you're having professionals pull you aside, not, you know, you're not at an indie show at a VFW hall having, you know, random guys pull you aside. So I was lucky in that sense of I was on road trips with Delirious, Prince Nana, Cesaro, Steve Corino dropping knowledge left and right.
That's what I'm saying.
Us.
Like,
so,
you haven't hit the same accomplishments that others have, but you've been there on their journey, and like I said, you soak up those intangibles. Like me, I'm just a podcaster, but I've got to be in locker rooms and be around people who've been to the dance and you know, have done things that you soak that in, and you can pass that on and being like, you know, you walk into a locker room and you can see the ones who are going to excel and the ones who are there to hang out and play wrestling.
Yeah. Again, my best accomplishment, like you said, was like after I left there and I gained as much knowledge as I could to run my own shows, just taking guys from down here and just morphing them with ideas and then hitting ideas back and forth. And then you can literally see them elevate. Like you can see their work getting better and better and better. And then guys that I started at the bottom with in PWE, they're in AEW now. They're in NXT now. And to watch, that's the satisfaction, is to elevate them from here to here. Guys like the Iron Savages, I believe, or they're in AEW. They're a tag team, right?
Yeah.
Beefcake and what's his tag team partner?
I know which ones you're talking about, but I don't know their names. They don't get a lot of main TV time.
They don't. They usually lose pretty fast.
Yeah.
They lose, 30-second matches. But he came to me in 2017 and we worked together. He wrestled for me like 3 or 4 times and we bounced ideas off of each other. I helped him with promos. I still have them saved on my computer, old promos that Beefcake was doing with PWE, and just to bounce ideas off, and you can see that it's registering in their head. Like you can see what you're saying to them is registering.
Yeah.
And then you see them all of a sudden, oh, now they're getting booked in Evolve. Now they're getting booked in Beyond. Now they're getting booked in AEW and NXT. Holy crap. You're watching guys like Beefcake, Anthony Green, retrosexual Anthony Green.
I love Anthony Green. Huge
Loved
fan
him from
of
the start. I loved him from the beginning.
He's good to be in a locker room too. He's a good person to have in your locker room.
He's the one that shaved Yodeling Johan's mustache off.
Oh, that's an accomplishment.
He's also the one that came up with the Camp Leapfrog name.
Yeah.
Yeah, the satisfaction is just to watch them go from being at your show to being on national television. That's really what else do we do it for? Like, what other reason do we do it for?
Mm-hmm.
What do you got, Alex?
Well, what's that? What do I have to say? Well, I think it's interesting because recently, Travis, he sent me a photo of a show where we were at with L.A. Knight, except back then he was with Impact as Eli Drake. And I was
you wrestled Johnny Mundo or Johnny Hazelton, as somebody in the crowd got everybody chanting.
Right. So like that night, I remembered, I was like, wow, I interviewed Johnny Impact. I interviewed Scarlett Bordeaux and damn it, now I'm going to forget his name. Runs Revolver. Sammy Callahan stole my shoes.
Sammy Callahan.
Night.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to interview Eli Drake at the time, and I was like, yeah, you know what, you guys have done enough. I'll let it go. And I was just like, damn, I could have done that. But then I remembered, I've done some cool things, and I don't actively remember that, and I don't take the time to like live in the moments of the cool stuff I did. I'm always like, well, what's next? But like, man, if we could just stop for a second, think about all the cool stuff that we've gotten to do over the last couple of years and decades. I mean, wow.
I tell people all the time, and I probably sound like a broken record, but I cherish Camp Leapfrog and those times. And I only came in at a certain point where I wasn't there for the beginning stages, but I'm still chasing that high. Camp Leapfrog was a high we'll never get again, it seems like. Yeah, I feel like we're getting close.
See.
That locker, the last high tension show at the dojo felt it was scratching that itch again. You know what I mean? Being at Labor of Love Mania weekend felt like a Camp Leapfrog environment, that locker room. I'm excited to see how it transfers over to PWE. But
it's good people doing good things. And like,
but also making everyone feel welcome and like they're a part of it. And even the fans feel like they're part of it. That's something you have to encaption. And when fans feel like they're a part of the family, they support it. LVAC does it beautifully. LVAC fans feel like they're part of the locker room. You know what I mean? And the locker room comes out and they're part of the fans. And it's an important bond to have with your audience.
Yeah. And I think
100%.
That's what I'm trying to capture now as well.
Yeah. Well, when you have, the influences like that of the LVAC, the Camp Leapfrogs, the Labor of Loves and stuff like that, who are some of your influences and role models in this business that you pull from when it comes to running your own shows?
Let me think about that. Alex, you go first. I have to think about that one.
Honestly, it used to be the typical ECW. That was my thing. But now it's honestly, it's my peers. It is looking at what Billy Avery's doing, and even what's happening up at Smash Master, what's happening at CFU, looking at what they're doing, and just kind of how can I fit in this puzzle of the cool things that they're doing, and how can I bring in the things that I like, which is the story and the characters that were kind of left over from that Leapfrog era, and now it's just. I'm inspired by the people I work with. So like Mike Skyros, Brian Ace, Ethan Wild is a huge one, even though he's a dastardly jerk.
Now listen, we're not going to have any Wild LLC bashing here under my watch. I think they're doing great work.
Well, beg to differ, but like in reality, as a character and as a human outside of theater, I'm inspired by these people and their kindness and their ability to take something that I've come up with in my head. And like Weber, during the Boiling Point tapings, came up to me and was like, hey, I see this is what you want me to do. What if I do this as well? And that could tell this aspect of the story. And I'm like, wow, I never thought of that. Amazing. Thanks for coming to me with that. You know what I mean? So
Weber would be my Johnny Gargano of my wrestling company. When you talk about intangibles that some people don't have, Weber Hadfield is all that and more.
So so what inspires me is the collaborative nature of my peers.
Yeah.
I'm rolling with that answer too, because you're right. The promoting, we're promoters and bookers, right? It's two jobs, and we're doing both of them. We're promoting and booking. Promoting, not as fun as being a booker, right? Booking's the best part. We promote just so we can get to that one damn day. That one day where we can kind of just do anything we want. We're the bookers, and promote so you can book. That's what it comes down to. And like you said, the best part about a show is you have an idea, you've worked with your talent, you bounce ideas off of each other, you get to the show, and you literally can map out what to do together. You don't tell them what to do or what they have to do. It's that collaboration that's the most satisfying part. And then when the show ends and nothing failed, like there wasn't a failure, like we had a minor failure on this thing because the technology just screwed us up for a little bit. But let's just say a failure at a show would be like the soundboard stopped working. Well, that sucks. Now you don't have a microphone or music. That's a big deal. But if you can get through a show, without any major problems.
Yeah.
Man, that drive home from the venue to your house is like the greatest drive of all time. It's more satisfying leaving the show and driving home than it is sometimes being at the show and being so stressed out. So the collaboration, like Alex said, between booker and wrestler, that's rad because they've got ideas that you didn't even think of, and then you've got ideas that they haven't even thought of, and then boom, you've got magic happening.
Absolutely.
And then if it all works, that drive home is like, whoa, the best thing ever. Like I freaking ran a show. Like holy crap, I ran a show.
That Boiling Point show for High Tension was that way. On the way home, it was like we couldn't shut up about the show. Like we all watched the same thing, but we were just picking and choosing the moments that made it special for us. And then you have those moments on a show that you don't think they're going to be moments. Like for example, I don't think it aired yet, so I'm not going to say it, but there's a wrestler who shows up at a Boiling Point that was just kind of like, all right, let's throw him in and go do a match, kid. We're at the end of the night. Whatever you got to do, just go. Cause like, it was shot in a taping style. So the main event wasn't the last show of the match for the fans in attendance. And we kind of put a match out there that was like, all right, here's our last one. The guy's been hanging out, doing his thing. Go out and just have fun. And this kid went out and put a main event match on and sent the crowd home happy, a studio taping crowd home happy. And everyone's talking about him. You know what I mean?
There's a kid who just showed up, was like, if you have something,
was it a dark,
I would be happy to
dark match?
It was very much like an after the show dark match, and he
lit it up.
Just blew up the whole crowd.
Who is it?
It was amazing.
We all want to know, who is this
mystery
man?
You're gonna have to wait until the finale of Boiling Point at the end of July. But
it became a main event, I'll tell you that.
It's a wrestler known as Don Freeze.
Yes, Don Freeze.
You might have seen him recently at a Labor of Love show, one of the No Ring shows, actually.
I was there. I saw Don Freeze. Yeah, Don Freeze was in a very chaotic match. He was in like a 6-way mayhem crazy match. I filmed a lot of it. So yeah, he was very impressive. Yeah. Shoot, there was a lot of people that were in there. Sonny Defarge was in that match. It was intense, man. They went after it. It was the crowd was kind of dead for the first half of the show, and the bands were kind of like bands were good, but they were kind of like slower bands. And then when that match came on, the crowd was like, whoa, like it got crazy. Like they were they blew the roof. I mean, after that their match was done, I was like, damn, they tore the place down.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's kind of shift gears here a little, Alex.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to say, outside of wrestling, let's get to know you a little bit. I had the opportunity to come meet you at your home, and I got to see this really awesome basement that you have. So outside of wrestling, what are some of your interests and hobbies?
So music for one, me being in a band and playing music and listening to music, that's one of them. Let's see. This might be surprising. I play badminton, but
Okay.
it's the first thing you're going to think of with badminton is, oh yeah, I played that at a barbecue in my friend's backyard before. No, I play Olympic style competitive badminton. So
Okay.
I'm in a rec league with not professionals. I'm playing professional style, Olympic style, meaning we have professional courts, Olympic style courts. We have referees. We do tournaments and so forth.
Wow.
So I'm a competitive recreational league badminton player. So
Awesome.
it's a serious sport. I mean, it's not fun and games. Like, it's very difficult. It's very athletic. I mean, you're talking about guys jumping in the air to do smashes and stuff, and it's intense. It's super intense. If you ever want to watch like what this looks like, go YouTube. A guy, my favorite player's name is Victor Axelson, like Axel, but
Great
Axelson.
wrestling name.
Yeah, it's a great wrestling name, Victor Axelson. It sounds a lot like what WWE would have called somebody in like 2015 or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's my favorite. And you can just watch the way that they play. That's what we aspire to do. So I play badminton. That's how I stay active. So that's the sport that I love. I've been playing that recreationally for years. So
Nice.
wrestling,
Good.
music, badminton. I like exercising, working out. I'm vegan, so I guess I'm passionate about the food that I consume. I guess I don't eat meat or dairy products, so I'm vegan. So I cook a lot. I do a lot of my own cooking and so forth. So I enjoy that too. That's
Nice.
about it.
So, what are some words of encouragement for someone who would want to start in the world of professional wrestling or even running their own shows?
Well, man,
Don't
That's
do
so
it. No.
yeah, you're gonna get disappointed if you try. So yeah, I would say first off, if a person just wants to get involved in wrestling right off the bat, they just say, I'm a fan and I want to get involved. They need to have a really, really strong psyche, willpower, frame of mind. You're going to have to take a lot of shit. It's not easy.
Nope.
No. I mean, what do you like, I listen to podcasts and they always ask people like Bischoff that. And I always, when I'm listening to that, I'm thinking to myself, how could I answer any differently than what Bischoff would say? How could I answer that any differently than what Triple H would say or Paul Heyman would say? You know what? It's the same damn answer, and I can't come up with anything better. You have to network, but to network, you have to be a part of a group to help you network. It really just comes down to you have to really join a school. You kind of have to. Like,
No.
I'm not gonna book a guy that says, check out my awesome backyard matches that I've been having. And I'm like, are you trained? The answer is no. Then I'm not gonna bother, right? I'm not gonna bother with it. So who am I gonna bother with? Well, it's gonna be someone that's trained, for one, that's a trained professional wrestler. So if I'm not going to bother with someone that's not trained, then you have to go to a school, and it has to be a reputable school. It can't be like Dastardly Danny's school, some guy named Dastardly Danny Smith. He's got a school in the middle of a cornfield somewhere.
We have a lot of Dastardly Dannies in the area. A lot of
Probably.
Yeah,
Are you up in like the Scranton area, or the,
I believe the fifth.
Pocono area? Some Pocono feds?
Yeah, around there.
Something like that.
I just think like the best thing to do is if you want to get involved in wrestling, you're gonna do whatever it takes to get in wrestling, right? If you really care.
Yeah.
So if you really care, you're gonna put your money where your mouth is. You're gonna do what I did and drive across the country for 3,000 miles, leave my friends, leave my family, leave my girlfriend, everything, sell everything, drive across the country and move into some random house that you found on Craigslist, and then you're going to give the school $3,000 and you're going to start training. I mean, I gave up everything. I think that's kind of what it would take. I mean, I can't think of any shortcuts.
I respect the shit out of that, by the way. Like, as someone who's a content creator who, like, I'm obsessed with Kevin Smith. Like, he sold everything he loved to make his first movie. I did the same thing with this podcast. That's how I started. Yeah. I started going to wrestling shows. I went from a podcaster to a backstage interviewer to commentary to production team. Like, and along that journey, chasing it and being on the road and never home, lost everything, but like, and invested a lot of money into my equipment and what I wanted it to be. And like, if you're not ready to make that commitment in any form of entertainment, it may not be for you. Like, if you want to have fun and have a hobby, that's great. But if you really want to be serious, you're going to have to be willing to lose a lot.
If there was a shortcut, everybody would be doing it, right?
Yeah.
If there was a shortcut, I joined a school, left everything, spent all my money, went broke, and then my payoff was getting body slammed and suplexed onto my back for 3 hours straight when I went there to be a referee. It's kind of like you have to. That's why I said, like, the first thing you have to do is have the right mindset, I guess. Yeah. The mindset has to be there to be able to get beaten down and then work your way back up. It's almost like a military style. You kind of have to, you're going to take lumps. There's no shortcuts. No one's going to respect you if you're not trained and you're not trained at a reputable school. So you're not going to get anywhere that way. Like you said, you're an entrepreneur. And then all of a sudden when indie feds start trusting you, they're like, wow, he's a good interviewer. Maybe he can do commentary. Maybe he can be a referee. Maybe he can be an announcer. All of a sudden, you kind of have a resume that's awesome. It's all about building the resume. And once your resume is just, like, you have a great resume. I'm sure from what you listed, your resume is awesome. Now you can use that to move higher and higher and higher. It's all about just like going all in. Are you going to go all in? That's the. I wish I could come up with a better answer than just like joining a school. But like, you got to join a school, and then you have to network, and then you have to gain people's trust. Yep. You have to be trustworthy. You have to be a good person. No one wants a jerk in their locker room. No one wants jerks. So it's a tough answer. How do you get in the wrestling business?
I think you answered that beautifully.
Go all in and go to school, but go all in and be like mentally prepared for shit. Like,
who's doing that right now? Junie Underwood.
Yes.
He's going all in.
Yeah. Same with Journey. Journey Burke is another one. All in. Yep. All in.
She's a lawyer, isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't need to break her body in professional wrestling. Like, she loves it. Another person that not in the high tension network circle, but someone I love dearly, does great things at PPW. Rembrandt. That's another one. That dude is all in. Like, this dude probably. I thought the first time I ever seen him wrestle, I thought he both broke his legs. He finished the match and didn't even go to the hospital. He's like, no, I'll be back here next month. Like, the guy. He wants it. Like, people like that, man. You go to the locker room.
Was that when he hit the guardrail?
Yeah, it's not like a shotgun went off.
Well, for Alex, what Alex was saying earlier is, us as promoters and bookers, we see that passion. So passion 1, we see the drive 2, we see the dedication 3. It makes us as promoters and bookers want to work with those guys because they care. It's the guys that I don't really want to work with are, unfortunately, the veterans. I don't really want to work with like Hacksaw Jim Duggan and like Honky Tonk Man, and like, I don't want it because they look at me and they're like, he's my payday, and then I'm out of here. I just want walk in, payday, gone. You want the guys that are gonna text you afterwards and say, how do I get better? Let's work on my gimmick. Like, am I doing this right? You want to converse, but like, you bring in Honky Tonk Man for a meet and greet. He barely says hello to you. But I'm throwing his name out there. I'm talking about that.
Yeah. He's an example.
I think it's amazing what you're saying, because one of my biggest struggles was wanting to work with everybody that wanted to work with me and that showed that passion and that drive. And then I ended up overbooking shows and then putting myself out. And now, like with our Boiling Point tapings and moving forward, we've kind of curtailed our roster to the people who most display the drive and the want to be there.
Yeah.
Now there are some that aren't booked that do also display that, but we have to rotate them in when we can.
Yeah.
But it
makes us care about promoting them if they care as much as we do. So
absolutely,
you see the care, and if it's 50-50, that excites us. I mean, we get pumped for that. But you're not going to see that from a veteran that comes in, like, let's just say a meet and greet with anybody.
Yeah.
You're just Incredibles, whatever.
Yeah, that's a great example. That's a great example.
I'm sure they're okay guys. I'm sure they're fine guys, but
not him.
But it doesn't make me and Alex get excited.
Yeah.
We don't.
I'll tell you what. I'm
a
mega fan of this person, and then when I seen them at CFU when they lost their title, and they're like, "This doesn't mean I'm done, right? Like, I still want to come back." And this person tours the world and works for GCW and TNA Wrestling. Like, Masha Slamovich is someone who is on the rise. Like, ESPN is putting her in the top 10 list of last year of best wrestlers in the planet, and she's working for CFU, and she's like, I don't want to leave. Like, can we still find a way to use me even though I'm not champion? Like, stuff like that. When you see talent like that who love your product and want to be a part of it, that's special.
Yeah,
you got
it. So my last one here for you, Erik.
Like, hell yeah.
Yeah. So my last one here for you is, and it's kind of how I end a lot of the stuff here, is essentially everything you've been through. You know, you bet on yourself. You went across the country. You went to ROH. You're tooling around with the who's who of professional wrestling today, right now. You know, you're doing the music scene. You're putting on shows. Your shows are exactly what you want to be, but you're kind of struggling. But now you find this high tension network. Kind of just summarizing up everything we talked about here. But at the end of the day, what are you grateful for, and are you currently happy?
Oh, what am I grateful for? Does it have to be wrestling related?
No, it could be anything. Yeah.
I'm just grateful to have a house and my wife, my dog. I mean, let's just bring it down to I'm just happy that I have a good life. I mean, I'm happy job wise. I'm happy relationship wise. I'm happy with this family, and like, that's number one for me.
That doesn't happen if you don't get on a bus to go to ROH to go to Philly. You know what I mean?
It was tough. Like, back when I was younger and I was like on these road trips, I was on these road trips for like 3 and 4 days, just driving. I was having to ask off time off work, and then the bills weren't getting paid, and I was still in that all in moment where I'm like, I'm gonna go to every show. I'm gonna do everything. You know, that kind of wore off after 3 years at Ring of Honor, at least. But then, of course, doing my own venture, now I can restart that. But yeah, I'm grateful for just having a good. My mental state's really good. It's really solid. I'm not having any issues, and God, family, house, pets, and then wrestling wise, I guess I'm just happy that. I'm happy I didn't have to sell the PWE brand, because I was considering it, because I was kind of losing focus and I was losing the drive. And I'm happy that I got hooked up here, and I don't know, we'll see how these shows do. And I guess I'm just, I don't really have anything to be sad about. I'm generally in a good place.
I love that. Anything, Alex, you want to add before we get out of here?
About what I'm grateful for?
Anything. Well, if you're grateful, happy, anything you want to talk about, any last questions you have for Erik or things you want to put out there?
I will share, actually, though. It's been a long road since the last time I was on one of these shows, and I am grateful for my friends. I am grateful for you. I'm grateful for Name Drop Page and the people I talk with every day. I'm grateful for my support system and my production team, the friends that I connect with and get to talk to. I'm also thankful, like Erik said, like mentally just really good right now, and that's not always the case. And the HTW Network and the support, the creativeness, and the collaboration, like these things give me life. And I'm really excited about that. But I'm also excited about another collaboration with PWE coming up in August. And I think I sent you the graphic for High Tension Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Explosion present Solar Slam. Neil deGrasse Tyson will not be there, but he endorses this wholly. Friday, August 16th at Philomoka in Philadelphia. Doors open at 7:30. Show starts at 8 p.m. And the ticket info will be dropping Friday.
Let's make a graphic. Open invitation. If Neil deGrasse Tyson wants to come to this event, open invite. 10 minutes on the microphone. Cut whatever promo you want to do, Neil, because you should be the president of the United States. That's what I'm saying. I love him so much. That man, I'm voting for you. 2024, 2028, 2032 until you die. Neil's my guy. Neil's my guy.
Do you guys have any matches or announcements or maybe a band in mind that we can see at Solar Slam, or is that too far out?
Well, I booked Nails. Nails is in the main event of the. No, it's joking. I was just gonna say I forgot to say that I'm also grateful that Nails is alive, and he recently did like a convention or something for the very first time since like 1994. So he's able to be booked. So although my guy Zeus here is passed away of COVID in 2021, I'm grateful that Nails, my second favorite wrestler of all time, is still alive, and even the possibility of Nails coming to a PWE show excites the hell out of me.
And if anybody wants to book my favorite wrestler so I can do a commentary and just meet him, Tajiri, if anyone can make that happen.
Nope. Already tried. Don't got the wallet for that one, brother.
But yeah, Solar Slam is assuming that Danger Hawk is going to still be champion. We're not sure. He's going to be in the main event wrestling Nolo Katano.
Ooh, we know him.
With the samurai sword.
I love me some Nolo Katano. I haven't seen Nolo Katano since Camp Leapfrog. I miss him.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of stuff in House of Glory up in Queens.
Yep. So it's funny. We were very fortunate very early on between PPW and even Camp Leapfrog when House of Glory had this upcoming people of like your Rembrandt, your Cosmic, your Evander James, your Charles Mason before he's the seat of the son, like the evil version of him now. Mantequilla. He's not a House of Glory guy, but he's doing big things there. Casey Navarro, like we were all there for their very early days, and Noel's one of those guys too. Big Game Leroy, we're all really new to the game and really like became something. I still remember Nolo Katana versus Whisper at Camp Leapfrog. It was one of my favorite matches. That like it was kind of like not a throwaway match, but it was just like halfway through a show, let's put it together, and they killed it. Like so, the fact that Nolo's your
like such good matches all around. I don't think any of them were throwaways. It was just like we have so many talent that wanted to be a part of that thing. It was crazy.
I just recently discovered Nolo, a couple months ago. You guys knew him earlier. Guys like Mantequilla though did wrestle for PWE back in 2019, so I know him. And then Casey Navarro was like 2017 with PWE, but Nolo I just discovered and very impressed, man. He's got the look, he's got the skill. He's got the character. Man,
if anyone's coming out of that House of Glory, if anyone's coming out of that Battle Pro up in New York, they're class act people.
Yeah, I trust Battle Club for sure. I trust those guys. I mean, anybody that came from like Create a Pro Wrestling, anyone that came from Battle Club, you start to realize that these schools that are producing these guys, you can trust certain schools over other schools because with the training that they're getting, they're not just getting good wrestling training, they're getting good life training. They're getting life life situation stuff. They're getting trained the right way from the right people. So
Cheeseburger School, and another one that's been really, really good, man. Putting a lot of people out in the scene that I'm becoming huge fans of not just the way their wrestling is, but the way they conduct themselves. Loving Catch Point. Catch Point's doing cool shit.
Yeah, that's what my friend Anthony, he's getting a lot of his talent from the Ring of Honor dojo Worldwide dojo and Catch Point. I'm kind of a mix of everything. I kind of draw from all over the place, but yeah, in the same way, man.
Well, you have a great resource here. I interview people of all different ages of their career, so definitely use this as a platform. I honestly look forward to working with you more. And if you have people that you want to come on and promote the PWE brand and have their stories come out as talent, I'd love to have them on the podcast and formally welcome you to the High Tension Wrestling Network. We're pumped and we cannot wait. And if you guys want to be part of this, make sure you come out once again, July 19th, 8 p.m. at Live Music, No Ring Wrestling. You got to be 21 or older, but you could even listen. I have a lot of listeners from all over the place who maybe aren't in the area, who can't physically be there. But if you go to that website and you buy a ticket and send me a screenshot, just say, hey, this is a donation ticket or anything you want to do like that, please do so. Send me it. I'll forward it to these guys so they know that, hey, that's not one person at the door they have to worry about, but they'll definitely be thankful for the donation or the tip that you guys will put in, even if you can't physically be there. And will this be filmed that they can check it out later if that's the case?
I will have cameras there for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we're probably skipping commentary, but we're doing camera, right? Or
I'll have a couple cameras set up around the building.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's gonna be a blast.
Beer, wrestling, music. Come on.
I'm in. I'm
July
sold.
19th. That's all. That really, when it comes down to it, I know we're talking about all these things, but really, come to the show, and it doesn't matter what you're into. I think you're going to have fun on July the 19th at the Fire in Philly. I've done this 3 times, and every time people leave, they're just like, wow, that was a Friday night. That was a Friday night. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm glad to hear it.
That's what you need. All right, well, make sure you check the links below to follow PWE High Tension Wrestling. Myself, all of our links are below. The Eventbrite link is below as well, so you can go ahead and get your tickets and support this show. We hope to see you all there, and if you don't, you're dead to us. No, I'm joking. But let's wrap up with that. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We will be back. I'll be back on Sunday. This Sunday we'll be live for doing a movie review of the classic professional wrestling movie Body Slam. So make sure you tune into that on Sunday at 9 o'clock. And then on Monday, myself and Dante will be reviewing The Bride of Chucky. So you can check that out on Monday. Guy we talked about on the podcast earlier, on that following Thursday, we're on the 3rd movie of our journey. We've reviewed 2 of these movies. Now we're on the 3rd one. Myself and Sonny DeVarge will be doing Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, which has been an absolute blast recording with Sonny DeVarge. And then, some of the stuff that's going on the rest of the month. If my computer starts freezing, that'd be great. We have Abdul the Butcher, the history of Abdul the Butcher. So we'll be doing a whole in-depth on that. We'll have Scarlet Overkill, which is a drag performer, as well as they own their own cosmetic line. We'll be doing a show review of King of the Ring 1995. Spoiler alert. Not a great show. Then Kim Rose will be back for a movie review called I Saw the TV Glow. And then the next Sunday, we'll be doing our brand new show. It's called What If. So Marvel has their What If franchise of what if this happened instead of this. And then we did our first one where it was what if Ric Flair joined the WWE in 1988 instead of 1993. And we rebooked that whole couple of years. Well, we're doing another What If, and we're going to piggyback off the last episode. What if King of the Ring 95 was good? And we rebook the whole show and make it worthwhile. And then we have a surprise show on a Monday, which is not announced yet. And then we're closing out the month with former member and one of the OG members of Taking Back Sunday, and a friend of mine, Eddie Reyes, will be on the podcast. So a lot of fun stuff there, and that'll close out our month of July. We have tons of great content. Stick around. Make sure you subscribe to myself, High Tension Wrestling Network, and the PWE Pro Wrestling Explosion.
Use the hashtag NDT joins HTW for Neil deGrasse Tyson. We challenge you. Come to SummerSlam.
Come hang out with us, Neil.
And what if people realized how awesome Terminator 3 really is? Rise of the Machines. Just have to say, highly underrated. I want to say
gun scene?
I liked it even better than the first Terminator. Now,
Wow.
competition with Terminator 2 is still better, but what if people realized how good that Rise of the Machines actually is? So I'm glad. Maybe I will tune in for that review, because it is excellent.
I love that. Sonny's a giant like Terminator nerd. I've been having a great time with that. I haven't seen these movies so long, and I think I stopped after part 2. So everything from here on out to me is brand new. So I'm excited.
3 is really good. 3 is really good. I would say Terminator 2 is still the best. Terminator 3 is just below it, and then Terminator 1 just below that. People always think like, oh, Terminator 2 and then Terminator 1. No, 3 is really good. You're in for a treat.
I'm excited. All right. Well, that'll do it. We'll get out of here. Make sure you guys, go check out some AEW, which is on about 40 minutes in already. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. If you're watching this, take a screenshot on your phone if you're listening in your car on the ABJ podcast on all podcast platforms, and leave a little review. Tell us what you think about it, and leave some comments below if you're watching the replay back later. Here's some music by the Converse Kid, and we'll catch you next time.